and welcome to the second part of this three-part video series to support you in building your jewellery business. In the last video, we were talking about top tips for starting and running a jewellery business, and I shared with you some of the things that I felt were really important. And one of those was to do with planning and strategy in your business. So in this video, I really want to share with you one of my favourite tools for business planning. And it's a one-page plan called My Jewellery Business Model, and it's really helpful for getting down all the different elements of operations and what happens within your jewellery business on one page. Now, this tool was inspired by the Business Model Canvas, which is a universally worldwide used strategic tool for startups, and I've used it tons in my business. It was initially developed by a guy called Alexander Osterwalder, and it has been used by millions and millions of companies all over the world. Now, my jewellery business model is slightly different. It's been adapted specifically for a jewellery business, and there are 12 different sections for you to fill out with details of different elements of your business and how it's going to run, how you see it all working, and how it relates together. Now, the great thing about doing it all on one page is that you can look at the different sections in tandem with each other and see how they relate to each other. This is not a full business plan, but it's a great place to start. And instead of spending hours writing out long documents before you even know what you really want to put into your plan, this is a really good kind of initial starting point for getting those things up and running. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the model and show you how to use it. Great, so once you've opened up your jewellery business model, you'll see a sheet in front of you, and this is all in your notes. So if you make sure you download the course notes and open them up, and you'll have a blank section of the plan to fill in, so you can print that out as big as you possibly can. Sometimes I print giant ones if you have the facility to do that, and you can kind of stick post-it notes on it and kind of move bits around in that way. If not, an A4 will work fine. You might just have to write a little bit small. And there's also in your notes some information on how to fill out each section, but I'm going to go through that with you now. So if you look at the top, the first section is the vision and mission. So this is really about what do you want to achieve. So you might want to think how long you want to plan for. If you're just starting out, it might just be a year. If you're already in business, you might be looking at more 3 to 5 years time. But overall, it's what do you want to achieve in your business? What is your vision and your goals for setting it up? And what do you want to do to make a difference in the world? So most people start a business because they see a need or something in the world that they want to change that's not quite right. It might be that you've looked for a specific type of jewellery for ages and you've never been able to find it. And out of that frustration, you've really wanted to be able to create that for yourself and others like you. So what is it that you want to do? And with all of the sections of this business model, it's not easy to just come up with them on the spot necessarily, but I would encourage you just to jot some things down, even if it's not your final vision and mission, it's just a starting point. And we will be doing more videos in future to be able to help you to drill down into each of these sections and to help you really work on them individually. Today isn't about that. Today is just about getting your ideas down on paper and giving it a try. So that's the first part. That's the big kind of light bulb idea. What is it that you want to achieve in this business? Then if we go across the page, next up you can see products and activities. So what is it that you're going to sell and what activities are you going to do in your business? So obviously you're going to be selling jewellery, but you might be doing other things. You might sell at events or craft fairs. You might be working in shops and selling through retail markets. You might be teaching. There's all sorts of activities that you can take part in as part of your business. So they all go down here. And it's good to be as specific as you possibly can in this to get a really good idea of what your business is going to look like. If you're selling jewellery, then instead of just writing jewellery, I would encourage you to be as specific as you can. What type of jewellery are you doing? Is it silver work? Are you doing metal clay, beading, glass work? Are you combining unusual materials together? Anything that describes your products, that's the perfect place for them to go. Next up, we have a section about the most important people in the world, your customers. So for this, we want to work out who are they going to be. You might want to divide them into different segments. So you might have different age groups, you might have different locations depending on what you're doing. For example, if you're selling online and you're shipping to the UK and the US and other countries, you might segment your customers in that way. What are their key characteristics? What are they like? Now, you've only got a little box, so there's only so much you can write, but this is just an overview of who are your customers going to be in your business and what are they going to look like. The next box along is customer service and relationships. This is a really important thing to think about before you even start your jewellery business. But if you're already running one, it's a good thing to think about how you manage these. So your customer service and relations are so important in developing a strong brand and customer loyalty in your business, which you want. You want people to come back, you want people to talk about your business in a positive light and say that they had a really good experience. So how are you going to speak to customers? What forums are you going to use? Are you going to be contactable by telephone? Is that something that you want to give out? Or are you going to be contactable by email? Are you going to use an online chat system? So a lot of websites these days have live chats or different help desk modules that you can integrate in. How can your customers reach you? So they're going to want to talk to you at different stages throughout the process, whether it's before buying, during a sale, or afterwards. So how are you going to manage those relationships? With your emails, what platforms are you going to use for doing that? This is just something to really start to think about because you want a seamless customer experience. And in order to do that, we need to think about the technology behind it when you're selling online. We need to think about how you manage those relationships and what to do when they don't go quite as planned. You know, how can we manage difficult customers or perhaps customers that have been struggling with something and make sure that they have a good experience too. So again, it's only a small box. We can't write an essay about the customer service, but it would be good to put some key points of how you plan to be contacted and what you're going to do to make yourself available to customers as and when they need you. Next up is income sources, an important box, of course, for any business. So obviously your income will come from selling your jewellery, but let's try and be as specific as possible about this. So if you have different collections, you might have different expectations of income that would come from different ones. Are you going to have income from selling directly? Then a separate stream of income would be selling through retail and shops. Another stream of income might be from selling online. Then if you're doing anything like workshops or parties, that might be an additional stream of income. It's really good in a business to have more than one income stream where possible. So you're more diverse and you're able to combat any issues. So if one income stream is kind of looking a bit dry at the time, you have others to keep you going. So at this stage, I just want you to think about what your different streams of income will be and how you're going to diversify your income to make it as profitable and sustainable for the future. Then we have your suppliers and resources. So who is going to be supplying the materials or the jewellery, if you're not making it all yourself, for your jewellery business? So your key suppliers are important to think about. And on top of that, you may have other resources. So for example, you might have people working for you, or it might be something that over the coming years that you plan to build into your business. So that would be a key supplier or resource. It's anything that's bringing something into your business that helps fulfill the output. So we want to list those there so we see how they work in relation to the rest of the business model. Then we hit quite a big one, your pricing and cost structure. So there are a few different elements to this. One is how are you going to price your jewellery? So we'll be working on a pricing structure for your business in the videos going forward. Another is to think about how you actually collect money in. So once you've got your price and you've advertised it and you've sold your jewellery, how are people going to pay? Are you going to be accepting payments online? What technology are you going to use? Is it going to be PayPal or Sage Pay or another of the other World Pay, the big kind of credit card systems? Stripe is a new one that's quite popular at the moment. How are you going to keep on top of those things? So it's good to do a little bit of research on how you plan to collect your income coming into your business. Also, if you're doing more face-to-face sales, are you going to be accepting cash, checks, bank orders? How will that money come in? And it will depend a lot on who your customers are, how you're reaching them, and the cost price of your jewellery. So all of these things just need to be taken into consideration when thinking about how the whole of your business will run as an operation. It's also good in this section to have a little think about your overheads. So whether your pricing structure for your jewellery includes your overheads in your business or not. And by overheads, I mean things that are not directly related to the cost of selling your jewellery. So for example, if I buy some silver and I make a silver pendant out of it and sell it, the silver is an obvious cost of that sale. But an overhead might be something like the heating or the electricity that I've used in my workshop to be able to make that. Or it might be the rent that I'm paying on somewhere if I'm renting a space. So it's just thinking about those kind of hidden costs that we don't always think about and how are we going to fit them into our pricing structure. Now again, I know that all these sections can be a little bit overwhelming if you haven't done any work on them before, but don't worry, just jot down what you've got so far, and then in future videos and courses we'll be able to show you how to drill down into those sections and get more specific detailed information that's right for your jewellery business. Next, we're going to look at the brand and the visuals. What are the key elements of your brand? So this might be logos, it might be specific colours, it might be images that you use. How are you going to represent the business visually? So that's always worth thinking about at this stage, especially for a jewellery business where everything is so visual. So you'll want to think about your logos, your graphics. Are you going to be designing those? Are you going to be using a designer? What are the key elements? And perhaps think of 4 or 5 to jot down in this box. Things that represent your brand, that you're going to be able to use consistently across all your platforms to be able to build an audience and build those customer relations. Marketing is another big one. So again, small box, big ideas, but what are the key marketing activities you're going to do in your business? There are so many different options that you have. You might not want to do them all the time because that could be a little bit overwhelming. But what's the key focus you're going to be? For an online business, it might be social media, it might be blogging, it might be affiliates or working with others online. For an offline business, you might be more focused on offline sales, like working with magazines and the press in your local area. It might be working with the craft fairs to produce promotional leaflets and information about what you're doing. Depending on your business model, it will relate to what your marketing activities will be. So it's great at this stage to write down what your key marketing focus is going to be for your business so that you can be sure to focus on that. Then we're down to the bottom section and we're looking at you and your team. So you may have a team and you may not, and that's absolutely fine. And even if you don't have a team, you might have more of a team than you think you do. So obviously you will make up a big part of your jewellery business, and it's important to think about what skills you have and any that you are lacking that you need support with from other areas. For example, you might get a professional photographer to come in and take pictures of your work. So they'll kind of be part of your team for the time that they're there. You also might hire in freelancers for other areas of work. You might work with shops and galleries to sell your work through that. So as you go through a jewellery business, normally you do build up a team of people who you're working with. And it's important to know what their skills are, understand how they work and how you work in relation to each other. Then as your business grows, if you're a larger business and you do have members of staff, it's important to look at what their key strengths are and their weaknesses and work on their strengths and how you can build the most successful business that you can have together based on that. So this section is really just about looking at the different attributes that your team has. anything that's missing will be highlighted. And the key strengths will hopefully be highlighted too, so you just have a bit more awareness of what's going on. Also, if you're looking at more 3 to 5 year plan, you might be looking at when you want to hire in people. So if your brand is growing and you're getting more and more sales, then you might get to the stage where you can't make as quickly as you're selling. So what's your plan going to be for finding additional staff? Something to think about at this stage. It can be a little bit scary taking on staff when you first begin, but we can help you and support you with information around that, and there's tons of stuff on the web as well. So this is all about you and your team, and you can fill in that box with the information that you know at the moment. A key part of any jewellery business is getting the jewellery to the customer. And this brings us on to the delivery section. So how will your delivery processes work? Now, I imagine a lot of you will be selling online. So we need to look at postal services in your area, what's on offer, what the different costs are available, and whether or not you're going to pass those costs on to the customer, or more specifically, how you'll pass them on to the customer so that you don't lose out. So are you going to have different delivery charges that will work for different speeds and different weights? Or are you going to do a flat fee? Are you going to include it in the cost of your jewellery so it's free postage? You have all different options, but it is worth thinking about and considering before you start your business, because these kind of things are really important to customers. I imagine that when you're buying online, I know for me, I'm always looking at what's the postage, how long is it going to take, when can I expect it, and that does make a difference in the buying decision. So it's thinking about your delivery methods. If you're not selling online, or if you're also selling offline, there are obviously different methods of delivery. So how are you going to get your jewellery to shops, to markets, to craft fairs, to wherever it needs to go, whether it be postage, whether you're just taking it along with you, the good old-fashioned way? These things need to be considered. And what kind of comes into that delivery is an element of looking at your packaging and how you're going to give the experience to the customer that they are receiving your jewellery. So that's something to think about as well. But for this specific exercise, it's jotting down your key delivery methods so that we can see in the business model how that all works. And then the final specific box is all to do with key partnerships. And it's a good idea on this plan to have a list of all the key partners involved in your business. So obviously customers will be one, your suppliers. If you're working with companies like PayPal or Stripe for payment, there will be a key partnership. If you're working with specific delivery companies, they may be a key partnership. Photographers, brand developers, whoever helps to make up your jewellery business, it's good to know who they are, and then it's important to maintain those relationships. So key partners go in there. Then the final box is listed as other, and this is where you can put anything else that might be very specific to your jewellery business that doesn't fit in with the model that we have already, but you think this is actually a really crucial part of my business that needs to go on this strategic document as well. So if you jot that in, then we can add that to the whole mix. And that brings us to the end of the jewellery business model spreadsheet. So I would highly recommend filling it all out, and like I said, you could print out a couple of them and then write different things in each one until you're happy with how it kind of looks and works together. It's not about getting it perfect, but it is a really, really useful tool for seeing how your business looks all in one page, the key different elements and how they relate to each other. It also gets you to ask yourself those important questions about how the operations, the day-to-day management of your business is going to run. So it's a really, really useful tool, and I hope you will enjoy using it. If you haven't already, make sure you download the course notes, which has the model in it and some extra tips and information on how to fill it out. If you have any questions, always leave them in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. So I hope you found this video to be useful. I know that I love this business model and have found it really, really helpful with building my jewellery businesses and just helping me think about what it is that I'm doing next. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about branding and key elements to building a brand for your jewellery business. So do make sure you stay engaged with the email list to get information on when that's released. And I look forward to doing more and hoping to support you with your jewellery business. And until next time, happy making.